Hello, Rally Nation fans. Welcome back to Rally Nation Live's broadcast of the Mike Nagle Regional Rally 2021. This is Dalles Mountain Run 2. We're waiting for our first competitors to hit the stage. In fact, they're actually already going now, and they're probably, let's give or take, a minute or so out, just a couple miles out, but they'll be here soon enough. I dare say that he might have been listening to my commentary, because he came much slower through that corner and he came out much faster. But also I think it's mostly a case of seeing that the track is a lot more swept than it was on the first run. He didn't even initiate a pendulum turn, which he did the last time around, and in fact he really didn't even get too loose. He just kept it nice and tidy through the corner, and I think that saved him a lot of time compared to his first run.
Yeah.
So we were expecting Blake Lynn, but instead we have John Hill absolutely flying through it. I dare say just about as fast as...
I was gonna say, it looked like they were about a minute apart. Actually, we should probably get a little stopwatch out here so we can see about, take a little stopwatch marker at this point, because we're about 5 miles into the stage, and this is actually a really good point to really see how the cars are separated, right?
There we go, Dave Clark. We're certainly seeing a lot better lines compared to some of the competitors we saw at the very beginning, and I think that really is due to the fact that the road is so much more swept through here. It's really hard to tell, but when you look at the road, you can see the bedrock right at the bottom, and that is so much more traction than the previous loose stuff on the surface. Good line through there. Sounded like he backed off a little at the top of the hill, which may make sense considering he has a little bit more power than these other two-wheel drive cars, so it's very possible that he's carrying a bit more speed than they were. But however, I will say, looking through towards the end of the straightaway and the corner that we see down there at the end that we're looking at right now, definitely looked like he was carrying more speed than some of the two-wheel drive cars. So
I was going to say, it looked like he had to really get on the brakes there, and the car was slipping and sliding a bit. So yeah, I agree. It looks like maybe it's the weight of the car has something to do with that, as well as just maybe just more speed coming into it.
Well, really good mid-corner speed. In fact, I think that might be the best mid-corner I've seen, actually really putting a wheel down there into the sagebrush there. Exit was a little bit more loose, but I think he still carried a lot of speed through there, and I think that's why we saw him get a little bit loose on corner exit. And we got Briggs hot on his tail. Dust is not stopping him.
Derek Nelson, he's going to... Oh,
okay,
man,
maybe now.
Nice. He's definitely going to be catching up to the back of, see who I've got here. Looks like Adam Cohorn.
Yeah, I think we can definitely see that the dust is a factor still. Not swept off the road further down, but I think the section where we are directly at, you can definitely see that there's not a whole lot of dust that gets kicked up from here. There's Blake Lynn. I think that was probably the best line I've seen through this corner so far. Blake Lynn slowed down enough, but then he got right back on the gas about halfway through the corner, and that's really what you want to see, because that straightaway that we see at the end there is where you're going to make up your time. It's not really on the downhill section.
Alex Chadney and Niels K, because I won't try and butcher his last name any more than I already have in the past.
Campbell and Davis coming through there. Yet another good line. The road is still completely swept. Got Tokestat and Bent going through there.
Well, that's Dave Clark's dad, Larry Clark.
There we go, Larry Clark. I almost thought that he was nursing maybe some mechanical issues, but it's kind of hard to tell with the car going by so fast.
That hurt.
Nice transition through the corner there.
Bit of a gap there, though. That was about a minute and a half to that point. So either there's a missing car or, yeah, it just took him a little while to get here. I always love this one because his car number is 486, and he used to work for Microsoft, or maybe he still does. I don't know. Anyways, but the whole computer thing, I love that.
So I actually have a good story about Michelle Miller, and of course her co-driver Chris Miller. Is that Michelle Miller was actually one of the first people that taught me at Dirtfish, and kind of helped get me into this rally thing.
That's awesome. And she's really good at starting the addiction. You know, I've talked to her a
Absolutely.
ton of times, and such an amazing driver, such skill, and she's so good at communicating. Like,
Looks like we're blowing some blue smoke here.
yeah,
out of the
that's not
Tabor.
looking good for the Tabor Mazda Speed 3. Matt Tabor, Dylan Hooker. Sorry, guys. That
Got another car close on his tail. That was-
yeah, they're within 20 seconds.
yeah,
And,
certainly within 20
That's St. Van Tilburg and Arnella Grobovich. Yeah, they're right on their tail. They're definitely going to catch them, I think. It won't be much longer, and I don't think, and they're going to probably have to have flashers on that car. It's burned some oil to add.
Well, I'll tell you, it's nice to see another person of Dutch heritage out here. Van Heem. Rear end bush going by. Car looks great.
Yeah.
We always love historic liveries, historic builds.
So yeah, Steve Greer built that car so much to be like the McRae car that it actually has the water-cooled cold air intercooler. It's actually a water-cooled intercooler, which I've never seen anything like that. But I guess that's what they did with a car that was made out of Japan, and he found a way to get a hold of one. So he said he could. That's Kristen and Janice Tabor.
Another set of Tabors, and you know, now that we're talking about the Tabors and Kristen Tabor, I actually do think that she was moving a lot faster than her first run. But we do have a car really close on her tail. Oh,
There's some rocks up there.
there's got huge rocks. Oh. Carrying some nice speed through that corner. And I gotta
Matt
say,
and Shannon Genus. Wow, they are flying.
and I also gotta say that I do love that simple livery too. I mean, BMW's got a place in my heart as well as Subaru, but
So if you weren't racing a Subaru, is that what you'd build? Would you build a BMW?
well, maybe not for rally. I like 4-wheel drive for rally, but you know, for anything else tarmac related, I might be in a BMW.
Well, they're within 20 seconds of the Tabor, so again, a possibility. Lawrence Aresian and Ben Burrow.
Braking early for that corner far down there. We'll get it nice and tucked in. But yeah, back to what you're saying. I think turbocharged is certainly a step up from naturally aspirated. And it's not necessarily just the direct horsepower increase, but your torque curve is entirely different. I can certainly say that when we stepped up from pump gas to E85, the torque curve itself was drastically different. Boost was coming on a lot quicker, so was the torque, and you did have to drive the car a bit differently, but it gave you a lot more options and things to do. And I think that's really what a turbocharged car gives you, is it gives you more options in the way you want to tackle a corner. Got Jeff Thomas here, one of the gracious sponsors.
Yeah, Jeff Thomas and KJ Miller. With we know that his mom and dad, Kyle and Renee Miller, are following the live stream. So shout out to them. They're still going strong, and I think, like you were saying earlier, as the front-wheel drive cars, that's definitely one of the quick ones.
Definitely one of the quick ones, and you know, watching some of the braking points that Jeff Thomas had there, nice consistent braking through that second corner that we see further down there, and yeah, I mean, he carries a lot of speed through these corners, and it's possible that within a couple rallies here that he may be moving up the speed factor numbers.
And he was faster than Aresian, who's in a four-wheel drive car in front of him. So there you go, use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I'll certainly say you never want to tune out until the end of the stream, because there can be some fast cars that are placed further back in the pack that you still get to see.
You know, you may say that Subaru and rallying go together, but Audi, I mean,
We love an Audi.
it is the heritage, right? I
We
mean,
do love an Audi.
everybody started loving Rally when Audi came in. It became bigger than F1 back in the Group B days.
Certainly. You know, one thing that was interesting looking at that Audi compared to some of the other cars, especially Subarus, is it does seem to be geared a bit longer than the Subarus. It seems like some of the other cars, and it's possibly he could just be in a different gear, but I think he was in the right gear for the corner. It just seemed that he was a bit further down the RPMs compared to some of the Subarus by the end of that corner.
I was getting a couple text messages, people asking about the stage times. They're still working on them back in service. I was trying to say this earlier. This is the old-fashioned way of rallying, where they actually have to turn in the time cards, and the time cards are then gathered together by the scoring crew and manually entered into the system. So we don't have any tracking devices with this rally. It's the old-fashioned way, and they didn't even get the time cards until service came in. And of course, service finished just as they're heading out to start this stage. So
we hope by the third run that we know what's going on.
Exactly.
So we got Zukowski and King there. Not names I'm familiar with.
So Jennifer, this is her first time doing the Oregon Trail Rally. I believe Olympus was her first ever rally, and slowly picking up the pace. Actually, I would say that for the first time she went through, it looked like it was a little more gingerly.
Hot on her tail.
That
this
too.
Time, definitely looking a lot better, nice and smooth through there, but still putting on the power early. And if you come into a corner a bit slower, that's all right, but you got to make sure you put on the power as you're coming out of the corner, because otherwise you've lost a lot of speed there. We do have a car that sounds like it's hauling down the hill, though. Oh, certainly. You can always tell by the dust cloud.
Yeah, they hit that one a little wide.
Definitely carrying some speed through that corner.
Yeah, Heidsieck definitely looks like he's been increasing his pace. An unfortunate incident happened at Olympus for them where they were going to start the very final stage and their power window wouldn't come up. And you have to have a closed window unless you have a window net. And they actually had to DNF. One stage to go just because of the damn broken power window.
No driver wants that. We come here to race, and that's what we want to do.
Wow, they're actually definitely catching there. That was about, let's see here. Yeah, they've gained about 15 seconds.
Yeah, I can just tell from the acceleration out of that second corner that we see further down there that they're definitely carrying a bit of speed. And that's, what I was saying at the start of the second run here is that you can really tell, even just through this section here, how the driver's confidence, how their flow is through the stage, because it's one of those things that it carries throughout the entire stage. It's pretty easy to sort of reset yourself by the next stage, but by about the middle point of the stage, you definitely have a feel for how fast you're going to go through that given stage.
So we were talking before about naturally aspirated versus dealing with a turbo car with more power. You were talking about how you also set up for these corners. Would that be different about where you get on the power? Because
Absolutely.
Turbo lags a little bit sometimes versus if you have very little lag. Does your car have an anti-lag system on it or not?
No, did not have an anti-lag system. It's something, of course, we wanted. Everybody wants anti-lag, makes
Sure.
all the nice noises. It was not something we had, but it definitely, you do have to think about things differently in any really given configuration. But in the turbocharged, naturally aspirated dichotomy there, you're looking at getting into corners from different angles as well. Because the more power you have, the more sideways you can send the car, and it'll still propel you in the forward direction of where your car is facing. And that's a really big difference in how you go about corners and where you set yourself up, just the racing line as a whole. Looks like we got Cooper Anderson. Nice exit from that corner. Pretty good mid-corner speed.
Be a little cautious and careful, it looks like.
Lost quite a bit of speed going through that second corner there, but that was something I mentioned earlier, is that sometimes when you go through the stage the first time and you go through a corner and you might have some experiences with any given corner, and you take it differently, and it's hard to really explain from just watching it once that any given person might have had a bit of a
caution in the notes, and it's like, oh wait, maybe I didn't need to caution that much just because you got it wrong the first time, right?
Exactly. Couldn't tell if that's a plane or a car, and I think it's a little bit of both.
Yep, definitely hear a car coming.
Looks like
And see an airplane.
Matt Weaver, I think.
I think you're right.
You'll see Matt Weaver go by. Something I definitely noticed here is that, and it was something that we saw with the first cars of the first run that we saw go through, is that they were definitely setting up pendulum turns on this corner that we're looking at right now. And I think that is really indicative of how much has been swept away from this corner, because now we don't see a single car doing this. And the reason that they have to set up a pendulum turn is really because as you come braking down this hill on something that's really soft, is unless your steering is perfectly straight and your braking is perfectly straight, that the car is going to veer to one angle. And so it veers to the inside, and then you just set yourself up with a pendulum turn and you make do with what you can. But now that they don't have to do that, you can see the lines a lot tidier.
So with your experience on this stage, being a mostly downhill one, I know it goes back uphill a little bit. Do you end up getting brake fade or any of that stuff where you have to end up now kind of adjusting your driving style because the brakes are getting hot?
So I actually have a great story about that, because by the end of the stage, we were sitting at time control and we were starting to pull out onto the highway to transit to the next stage. And I remember my co-driver telling me, hey, there's a car coming. And I'm like, I know there's a car coming, but my brakes don't work. And so I just kept on rolling into the road, just kept on pumping. Eventually they came back to me, but I can certainly say that on a downhill stage like this, you're going to experience a lot of brake fade.
So when you're coming into the corners for that one, do you just have to sling it more sideways to try and slow yourself down?
Another family venture coming through.
Yep, Henry and Jack Gilliwiles.
But yeah, as you're saying, this is certainly something that I think as you get more advanced, you can start going sideways and using your tires to brake you a little bit more as opposed to your brakes, but there's a lot of different solutions.
So Peckham's definitely catching up to Gilliwiles. I don't see Jacob Sturgeon unless they reseated him farther down. Yeah. He was being caught last time, so either he had some mechanical stuff, which we maybe thought with that new build, maybe he had something going on, or maybe they got him seated back a little bit farther. Again, maybe still nursing something and trying to get to the finish.
It's interesting about Gilliwiles there is was getting caught there by Peckham, even though it seemed like Gilliwiles was faster through the corner. But that's one of the cases with rallies, that looking at any given corner throughout a stage does not tell you the whole story. Of course, we can gain some sort of knowledge from it, you know, whether it be confidence or whatnot. But at the end of the day, any given stage is 1,000 different corners sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and one thing you have to love about that little Civic is the Honda motors.
True.
Those things can just scream. They're probably one of the best of the natural aspirated motors that you can tune up to be really, really powerful.
Honda's made for rally, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Big lift there.
Getting to some of the last few cars here, but there's also some cars that we might be waiting on that have been reseated, so it's hard to say exactly when the last car will be. We'll of course know as we see sweep go through.
Yeah, gonna see if I can check to see if there's any time starting to roll in just yet, and no times just yet. Still waiting on that. But the Niles, I think this is only their second or third rally, so they're still getting up to speed, still learning how to get confident and whatnot. Well, you know, one thing that, you know, we do with these rallies now is everybody does their own pace notes, right? Instead of running off of a Jemba type note system. What was it like for you when you switched to doing your own pace notes?
Well, you see, from where we started, we always had our own pace notes. I mean, we used Jemba notes as sort of a basis for the first couple of rallies, just to make sure we weren't really off. But we started doing our own pace notes, and it's one of those things where when you first start rallying, you think it's just the driver learning, but it's the driver and the co-driver. You know, that's sort of the romantic part of rally, is that it's two people coming together to race one car. And because of that, the co-driver learns just as much as the driver does, and sometimes probably more.
Do you have quite the bromance with your co-driver?
Absolutely. Shout out to Brian.
Nice.
Even though I rolled the car and crashed into a tree with him in the car, you know, we're still doing good.
There's Jacob.
I didn't see any damage on the car, so it's possible that he was either passed or reseated. However, considering that I think he's 2 cars back from where he originally started,
exactly.
It could be actually a combination of both. Normally, you don't get reseated multiple cars ahead.
And in this case, you know, literally they got the car a week ago. I think it was just before this event, so not a whole lot of time to get it dialed in and ready for him.
Just enough time to put the names on the windows.
and adjust the seat position. He's not a small guy. Jacob's pretty tall.
See, that's the real reason I never did Formula One, you know.
Oh,
I
right.
can't fit.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, good excuse. All right.
That's the excuse I'm sticking with.
I love it. It's a little bit of a gap here, but wow. Definitely got a little bit chillier. I see some what looks like darker clouds that may produce some rain later.
You know, I've been watching the weather really closely, and it seems like there's only about a 20% chance of rain going into about 6 o'clock, so it might pass over, but you know how weather forecasters are.
Right. So is it better for it to rain after the road's been swept? Or, well, we'll let the Metro go through here. Churchill and Nesham, or Nesham.
It looks like we got a car close. Oh, nope, that's just plain.
Yeah, Dallasport Airport is just down near the finish there, so do get a little bit of air traffic over here. And you know what? He's banking this. He's watching the rally. You know he is.
You know, I know a few pilots. Might be one of my friends.
Well, you know one right here. Hello. I got my private pilot, and yeah, that's one thing I've been actually tempted to do is rent a plane and watch from above. Wouldn't that be fun?
We'll see commentary from above, you know, that's what we need.
Yeah, that would be commercial probably, and therefore I'd probably have to have a commercial license.
What about helicopters? How about that?
Now that would be cool. Oh, they're a little noisy being right underneath the rotors, but yeah, that would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Of course, we've seen Oregon Trail being trailed by helicopters for some of the filming for Subaru, and again, some of the best viewing that you'll get is definitely on these roads out here, from whether it's from the aircraft or from viewpoints where we're at right now. I mean, just
definitely,
you just don't get much better than this.
Now, it's hard to say if we're going to get any more cars. It's possible that while there's still a couple names left on the list, it's possible that they've already gone out of the rally, which is unfortunate, but we will know when sweep comes. And I dare say I just felt a raindrop.
Oh, so there we go.
But you were saying before regarding, you know, roads being swept and how rain affects that, and I definitely think it does. And it also depends on the driver coming through the stage and whether or not they're used to the rain or it's their first wet stage.
It's Madeline Tabor! Madeline and Mark!
There we go. Remember, this is their first rally, is it not?
Yes, it's Madeline's very first ever stage rally. That's just so cool. She's, like I said, she's about 18 years old, and yeah, first time driving on stages wicked quick like this, and it can be intimidating. Especially, you know what, honestly, if there ever was a rally that's going to be your first one ever to do, and these roads with all the downhills and the exposures, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Well, speaking of, actually, my first rally is when I was 18 as well.
Was it?
Yeah. It's a little bit to put yourself out there into a car after all that, you know, you do all the preparation, you do all the waiting, you see all these other people going, and but you finally get in the car, and, you know, it's just a delight, and you don't really care about how fast you're going. I mean, to a degree you do, but you know that there's no glory finishing at the bottom of a hill.